Well, good morning and happy 4th of July, happy Independence Day, whatever you want to call it. We've got Cern Basher. Hey, Cern.
Hi, Randy. Happy
So
Independence Day.
happy Independence Day to you as well. You are a Kiwi who's come here by way of Canada. What are you now? Have you become an American citizen? Are you trying? What is your status?
I'm a lot of things, but yes, I'm an American citizen.
Well, good for you.
Um, I became an American citizen 4 days before 9/11.
4 days before 9/11. How about that?
So talk about being on a high from that, and then after a short weekend, suddenly one of the worst things imaginable happened. So yeah, that was quite an interesting time.
Crazy story. I'm glad I asked.
Yeah, and I'm also a Canadian citizen, and so I celebrated Canada Day a few days
I
ago.
see. Okay. And
Yeah.
Boxer.
Yep. And I'm also a New Zealand citizen. That's where I was born. So I have many passports.
Wow, look at you. You can go almost anywhere.
I can, and I may or may not work for the CIA. I cannot tell you that.
Of course you're not, because then you'd have to kill me. I've heard the story. Well, okay, what have you got for us this week? We've had a big week. Holy mackerel, how much fun has that been?
It's better than the alternative, let me say. Yeah, no, this is nice. So we should enjoy this. And first of all, we said it at the top, but happy July 4th,
There it is.
Independence Day to everybody. And I can't really think of a more fitting way but to show a picture of a Cybertruck decked out in the American flag. The Cybertruck, for those that don't know, is the most American-made pickup truck.
And as of this morning, the announcement that it is the #1 selling pickup EV pickup truck in the United States.
That's right, and that didn't take very long, did it?
Right.
Yeah, and we're just beginning.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, speaking about the stock, the level that we closed at yesterday, there was a level that we first reached all the way back in January of 2021.
January of 2021. There you go.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but that feels like a long time ago to me,
Yeah, yeah.
you know? So we've been through a lot since then. The company certainly has had some challenges, but I would say that a lot of progress has been made in many fronts.
Absolutely.
And we will start to recognize that in the coming, quarters and years ahead. And it's kind of funny. This was kind of a funny meme that I saw yesterday. At $1, at 140 a share, weren't too many people lining up to buy the stock. And now that it's at 230 and things look a little better, the hordes are lining up to buy the stock.
Yeah, this particular picture could become a stock template, and you
Yeah.
could just put in different company names at different times, including Tesla many times. But you could put NVIDIA in there, you could put Amazon in there, you could put Apple in there. You could just switch it up.
Any company would work for sure. Yep. And then this other one I thought was also pretty funny. The end is near. Reuters compact canceled. Musk postpones India trip. Baglino leaves Tesla. Advertising department fired. Supercharging team fired. Right. So just keep adding to the list.
Yes, yes, yes.
So yeah. All right. Whoops. With the quarterly deliveries of almost 444,000, that brings cumulative deliveries, Randy, up over 6 million. To about 6.3, almost 6.4 million vehicles have been delivered since 2012.
Oh, all right.
And as you know, I like to give a little bit longer term perspective than many others do. And so I love these kinds of charts that show the cumulative deliveries. I also have one for cumulative production, which is it's a little bit higher, but it's very similar.
Right. So you have cumulative deliveries, and so therefore, if we're at 6.4 now, we will be crossing 7 million, obviously, in the fourth quarter sometime. So that's
Yeah.
that's pretty impressive. And 10 million isn't that far away. We're getting really super close to 10 million. Could happen, I suppose, by the end of 2025.
It could if we're lucky in that time range or early 2026.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, as bad as the stock price has been over the last, 3-4 years, the company is making a lot of progress, even on the vehicle front.
And that is a large number of taxis.
That's right. Yeah, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I mentioned also that I track, production versus deliveries. This is the two lines on top of each other. And this is just taking a look at the trailing 12-month production, trailing 12-month deliveries.
Okay.
And so there's been a little bit of a discrepancy, in the last year and a half. Production's been higher than deliveries. There's been some challenges in terms of getting vehicles delivered. It's also true that when you have a bigger company and you've got to move more and more vehicles around, when you produce a vehicle from the factory, it doesn't instantly get delivered to a customer, right? Unless you happen to live in Austin, Texas, then you might get your vehicle the next day.
Which won't work in Austin, Texas, because they can't sell direct.
Well, good point. Yeah. Okay. So maybe Fremont then is the example.
Fremont. Yeah, Fremont will work.
Yeah. So, it's a challenge. And last quarter, if you recall, everybody was fretting about inventory, right? And this is the production versus deliveries quarter by quarter, the difference.
Right.
And so we had gotten up to about 160,000 vehicles in inventory. Now, these numbers are maybe a little bit overstated because there are some vehicles that are produced that are never sold. They might go to a Tesla showroom and they sit there and are never sold. So there might be a few like that, but for the most part, I think these numbers are pretty good. And you can see that we had a massive increase in inventories last quarter, 46,500. And the good news is this quarter, we saw a decrease in inventories by about 33,000.
Right.
Now, the question I ask is, what is the right amount of inventories for a company like Tesla? Right? You look at these numbers on this chart and you say, oh my gosh, even though it's come down, these inventory numbers still look really high. Right? We're still over 120,000 vehicles. That seems like a lot of vehicles sitting around gathering dust. So what I like to do is understand things a little bit deeper if I can. And one of the things I've taken a look at and developed is something, this delivery versus production ratio. And this isn't perfect, but I think it's helpful to understand what this is showing. So again, when a factory makes a vehicle, it takes a little while to get that vehicle in the hands of the buyer.
Right.
So when I'm looking at production and comparing it to deliveries in a certain quarter, you really have to look at some production from the prior quarter, the end of the quarter, because that's what gets delivered early in the following quarter.
Right.
And a portion of the production during the quarter, because at the end of the quarter, that production is going to be delivered in the next quarter. So I take 2/3 of the recent quarterly production plus 1/3 of the prior quarter and compare that to this quarter's deliveries.
Yeah.
Again, not perfect, but if I'm consistent with this approach, we should get some numbers that are interesting. And you can see that this delivery versus production ratio fluctuates around 100%. The average of this is 100%.
Yeah.
But last quarter, it was 85. And this quarter, it was like 108%.
Right.
So quarter to quarter, you should expect to see this go up and down. Okay. And actually, over time, you can see these numbers actually, this variance is actually narrowed a little bit. Maybe excluding the last 2 quarters where we had some extenuating circumstances with a fire in Berlin and shipping challenges in the Red Sea.
Right.
But you can see that this has fluctuated less as opposed to where it was, in 2014 through 2019, let's say. Okay. So that's one.
So yeah, and so what I thought was odd, because I don't play the game anymore. I don't do the estimated shipments as estimated deliveries. But when everybody was doing their estimated shipments and deliveries, what I thought was odd was that none of them took into consideration Elon's words from the first quarter when he specifically called out the fact that there was a bunch of cars on ships. And I was really surprised, because some of these people, I really respect their methods, that they didn't take into consideration that a bunch of that 40-something thousand was going to be delivered, which it turned out to be, which is what blew up all of their estimates by a long shot. So yeah, you got to listen to Elon. This is an important thing. Listen to his words. He doesn't lie. He might exaggerate. He might be early or late rather, but when he says something, he believes it's true.
Yes, he does give us a lot of good information. And I too, Randy, I don't play the quarterly production delivery guessing game. There are people that do that, and they have their methods, and some are better than others. But what I would say is, after the first quarter, I did do a bit of a deep dive into the shipping situation.
Mm-hmm.
I did get my hands on some of the shipping data, and I took a look at that, and I wrote a post about that on X that folks can dig up if they're interested. But my conclusion was that there were quite a number of vehicles on the ships.
Mm-hmm.
I forget right now the exact number that I estimated, but I was confident that in the second quarter that would iron itself out, and it did.
Right, right.
Yep. Okay, so this is the number of vehicles in inventory globally for Tesla, shown as days of supply. And the industry has kind of some particular ways of calculating this. But anyway, it's consistent across the board. And so for Tesla, last quarter, they were up to 28 days of inventory. Now, you might recall other automakers have far, far more days of inventory than Tesla. Some of them up beyond 100 days, right? More than a quarter's worth. But for Tesla, 28 days was relatively high compared to where they had been in the last 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why there was all this anxiety about the number of days of inventory. But you can see that, if you look at 2014 through 2018, 28 days of inventory was not abnormal.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Now, I wanted to take this a little step further because, again, inventory is made up of two things: cars that are sitting there waiting for somebody to buy them, and cars that are being transported.
Right.
Both of them count as inventory. There's no distinction about whether the car's on a ship, a train, or in a parking lot.
Right.
So I came up with something that I'm calling true inventory days. And basically, it's the global inventory minus an estimate for the number of transport days
Mm-hmm.
that there are. So the transport days on this chart are shown in blue. And I'm estimating about 18 days,
Mm-hmm.
which is 3 weeks, but they use 6 days a week instead of 7 in these calculations.
Okay.
Okay. So the true inventory days as of Q2, at the end of Q2, is now down to 1 day.
Wow.
And I don't know any other company that's that efficient with their inventory that has 1 day of inventory. Not even a grocery store can say that.
You're right.
Right? And they have stuff that gets rotten and goes bad.
Yes.
Right? But they
Or
still have
just,
1
or they have
day.
to, or they have to discount it and put it in the day-old section.
Right. So this is pretty remarkable, actually. And I would actually say that this is still not enough. Like Tesla should actually have more inventory than this.
Yeah. And they might even agree with you that it would be good to have some inventory in the lots for people to be able to, who are just urgent to get something today, be able to have a little more ability to choose between various products. And of course, that's the idea of these big dealer lots. On the other side of the coin, I've just made the statement last week, CERN, maybe you can agree with me or disagree with me. Once FSD is level 4, Tesla will never have inventory again. The demand for Tesla vehicles will go so much through the roof that we'll be back to people waiting weeks or months, to get their cars.
Yeah, and this period down here after the pandemic,
Right,
may be the sign of things to come, where this is showing that the true inventory days were negative.
right.
And what that means is the average number of days that people were waiting for their vehicle. beyond the transportation component,
Right.
right? So, again, these are averages. Tesla certainly does have an inventory of some vehicles.
Right.
You can go on, you go to Tesla store and you can buy a car today if you want to, and that's great. And Tesla should have a large number of those. But the reality is there are still quite a few people that are waiting for their vehicle to arrive.
Right.
That's less than ideal, although for many people, that doesn't really matter.
Right.
Right. But for a
Apparently.
lot of people, when they want a vehicle, they want it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these are, again, this is just an approximation. Not every vehicle takes 3 weeks to deliver.
Right.
Some it's shorter and some it's longer. If you consider the time it takes to ship a vehicle from Shanghai to Australia, New Zealand, or to Europe, Chile, wherever else it's going, some of those shipping times can be quite a bit longer than this 18 days that we're showing here.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Now, Randy, you may have heard of a little component in Tesla's business called Tesla Energy.
Yeah, it comes to mind. Yeah.
Yeah, they make battery storage devices. I don't know if we've ever talked about that, but interestingly, that business grew nicely last quarter.
Yeah.
Shocking to everybody.
Right. Except
Yeah.
a few.
Except a few, us included.
Actually, I would say that the growth in one quarter even shocked me. Not that I wasn't expecting it to happen at some point, but to have it be this dramatic in a single quarter was kind of a shock. Yeah.
Yeah, they told us it was coming.
Right.
They told us lower growth numbers, and again, maybe for the whole year it'll average out to about what they said. But this one quarterly number was certainly higher than anybody could have reasonably expected. And AJ is showing here that that's likely going to mean a 100% increase in quarter-over-quarter revenue for the energy business.
Right.
I don't know yet if this is sustainable, whether the next quarter will be this similar number or even higher. It's quite likely to be a little bit lower.
I think one of the things that people haven't taken into consideration yet, which would be similar to that chart you just showed us about the vehicles, is that these projects are commonly like 50 units, 144 units, whatever, that are being shipped. And I'm just guessing, but I'm pretty sure I'm right, that in many cases, these locations need to take them as a group. They are set up to receive and install, receive and install, receive and install. They don't want one this week and one 3 weeks from now. They want them all kind of. So therefore, we see sometimes 150 of these containers sitting in the parking lot at the factory, and then all of a sudden, a bunch of them are gone. So this will probably give us some lumpiness in terms of the actual deployments each quarter. And then, of course, we have real big lumpiness with regard to the bookkeeping, but we've talked about that to death.
That's right. And that remains a mystery until Tesla provides us with further disclosure. And hopefully, as this business gets bigger, we will get that disclosure.
Yep.
Here are some of my charts in terms of the storage deployed. This is the quarterly number, and this shows the magnitude of the growth in one quarter.
Yeah.
From 4,000 megawatt hours, 4 gigawatt hours, to over 9,000 megawatt hours in one quarter.
Right.
And this was, I guess in retrospect, not that surprising because this plateau didn't really make sense.
Right.
So you could argue that we're catching up for some of these, lower numbers.
Well, I think also what was happening was they hadn't opened that second line. So we were just working with a single line of production. Then the second line of production was added. Then there was some buildup, and then we had this explosive growth. Yeah.
Yeah. And here's how it looks. If we take them at face value and say that the Lathrop megapack factory is 40,000 megawatt hours capacity per year.
Yep.
Then the trailing 12 months of deployments has used up about half of that capacity. Now, the trailing 12 months has a lag in it, right? We're still looking at production from 4 quarters ago in that number.
Right.
If you annualize the second quarter number, then you get close to that 40 gigawatt gigawatt hours of capacity.
Yeah, we do have to take into consideration that probably about 30% of that was power walls.
Yeah.
So you're probably looking at the Lathrop facility running somewhere between 70 and 80% of their capacity number, leaving us with the potential to be closer to 1.2, 1.3 per quarter, as opposed to the current 9.5.
That's right. And also, as you know, upcoming is the Shanghai megapack factory, which will double this stated capacity from 40 to 80. So we should expect over the next few years a very strong growth in deployments and revenues from Tesla Energy. I expect it to continue to be lumpy, and Tesla has said as much, but the trajectory is there.
Right.
It will set us up potentially for some strange, quarterly numbers and potentially, Wall Street disappointments on the energy number.
Right.
Right. So just prepare yourself for that, because Wall Street likes to set some expectations that they pull out of a hat, and they like to hold a company accountable to those, those expectations for no good reason. I think it's important to take a look at the growth of Tesla's energy business kind of on a rolling basis over time.
Yeah.
And as long as the trajectory is headed in the right direction, then good things are coming. And even with this dip that we saw here, this leveling out, you can see it just takes one quarter to catch it back up and put it on that same trend.
Right.
So it doesn't take much. So don't be too excited and don't be too disappointed in Tesla's energy quarter to quarter. All right, this is a similar chart we showed with the delivery for vehicles. This is the cumulative storage deployed now for Tesla Energy, and we're knocking on the door of 45 gigawatt hours of energy.
I saw a report yesterday, a headline, maybe you saw it too, that was talking about Tesla now having by far the largest market share, and they're just starting.
Yeah.
So it's, again, with the addition of Shanghai, it will just increase it by that much more. I'm kind of shocked we don't have more factories announced, but they don't necessarily have to announce these factories.
They don't really.
Yeah.
They don't really. It would kind of be nice, actually, if they would just build them and then announce that they've been completed.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, and also building these factories is not like making a gigafactory. It's not as big a deal or as expensive or as it doesn't take as much time to build one.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So for those people out there that want to think of Tesla as an auto company, AJ helps us understand what Tesla Energy means in terms of autos, and he's suggesting that the growth in energy, or the amount of energy deployed this quarter, is equivalent to about 99,000 vehicle sales. Right. So if those batteries could have gone into vehicles instead of battery storage, then Tesla could have reported about 543,000 vehicle sales. Now, maybe there wasn't demand for that, but I think it's still helpful to look at, this was a record quarter for Tesla in terms of energy deployed, whether it's in a box that has wheels or a box that's stationary. Right? They're deploying energy across these different devices. Some we drive and some we don't. And as a company, Tesla has never deployed more energy than they did in the second quarter.
Right.
So that may be helpful for some people, just to kind of equate what does this mean in terms of autos, and AJ did a nice job of showing that.
Right.
And he did it on a gross profit basis. You could also do it on a revenue basis, but gross profit is probably the better way to look at it.
Sure.
These are his estimates, by the way. So we'll have to see when the quarterly numbers come out, whether he's right about this, but it's probably pretty close. Okay. And then the other thing he did was he put together his best guess for what the financials would look like for Q2. And he published these before the delivery numbers were known.
Right.
One of the few people that has the guts to do so. And he was estimating deliveries of about 420,000 in the quarter.
And he was pretty much in the middle of the road of what everybody was estimating.
Yeah. So what's interesting, though, is he subsequently has redone those numbers based on the actual delivery numbers. And what I'd like to do here is compare and contrast his numbers before and the numbers after, just to show
Sure.
you what kind of an impact this strong quarter was
Mm-hmm.
in terms of expectations, in terms of what Wall Street analysts, when they look at their models,
Right.
what changes they will make just for this one quarter, not to mention a few quarters from now.
Sure.
So he was expecting revenue of just over 23 billion for the entire company.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he was expecting operating profit of 1.2 billion. And he was expecting free cash flow of about 530 million. So let's just focus on those three numbers.
Mm-hmm.
23 billion, 1.2 in profit, and 500 million in free cash flow. Here's how the numbers look now with the deliveries of about 444,000. Now we have revenue of 26 billion from 23. We have operating profit up to 1.9 from 1.2. And we have free cash flow of almost 2.2 billion, up from 533 million. Right. So a couple of takeaways here is look how sensitive the financials are to just a few more deliveries, 20,000 ton. Right. And how very easily you could get despondent about, oh my gosh, the company's not producing enough free cash flow to oh wow, this is great, a couple billion, we don't have to worry anymore. Like just you can just see the sentiment change, right? Just from one quarter.
Right.
And again, it's only one quarter. It's the trajectory, it's the longer term that really matters here.
Sure.
But I just
This
sort
is
of wanted to show people how sensitive the income statement is and the cash flow statement is to, one number, and that's the delivery number in one quarter.
And this free cash flow is even though the capital outlays right now are massive.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think his estimates for that changed between June 29th and July 2nd.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. The company is spending a lot on future projects, on AI, on factories, etc. Yeah. Now, whether AJ is
Correct.
spot on these numbers, whether the company makes 64 cents in earnings this quarter, to me, that's immaterial. I'm just showing here the difference between his estimates
Sure.
that are 3 days apart.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And every single other Wall Street analyst is going to go through the same exercise. They're going to open their spreadsheets, put in the numbers, and they're going to say, wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
things have really changed here.
Yeah. We also see the energy storage number going up from 1.6. Oh, I'm sorry. That's yeah.
He was at 2.1 billion.
Right.
So he's expecting a nice increase, but now he's at 3.3.
Yeah. So another billion, 1.1.2 billion just for that. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And for those that care about margins, it looks like gross margin may have bottomed in the first quarter. He's projecting gross margins in Q2 of 18.7. And operating margins from, 5.5 to 7.5%.
Yeah, I have a question for AJ. I'm going to put it up on X in a little while. AJ, if you're listening, I wondered how he had accounted for the loan pay downs, because those are pretty substantial in terms of the number of dollars impact on the margins. It could be, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a vehicle. And I'm just wondering if he's accounted for that when he's providing these very large automotive margins up in the 18 range. I'm not saying that we're not going to be there because I think the cost of batteries has come down, et cetera. But I'm just wondering if he did get that. He's a really careful guy, so
Yep.
I suspect he has. But I'm just curious. Yeah.
And he has a very, very detailed post on X going through all these numbers.
Okay.
With 20 some different charts and stuff. So if you're curious about that, I would urge people to go look at that.
Right.
I'm just sharing a couple of highlights here.
Sure.
And one more I would like to share, and this is from his long post of 20 some charts. He's showing that energy storage likely contributed 40% of the 1.2 billion in gross profit increase quarter to quarter.
Yeah.
So Wall Street now, if they were not including energy in their models, if they thought it was too small and not to be bothered with, cannot ignore it anymore.
Once again, listening to Elon's words is really important because Elon has said, I think starting a year and a half ago at the very, I know we put it in the Elon Musk mission, that energy will eventually surpass auto. Not the FSD, not the cyber cabs, but the metal part of the automobile business will be surpassed by the metal part of the energy business.
Yeah, and like a lot of things that Elon says, he says them well ahead of time.
Yep.
And people tend to forget that he said these things. And they claim to be surprised when it actually happens.
Right.
But you're right. If you actually listen to what he said over the years, he has been proven right time and time again. And with Tesla Energy, we also have to remember that they have pretty good visibility of what's coming.
Yeah.
Right. We just get to see what ultimately is deployed and reported, but we don't know everything that's in the pipeline. We don't get to see that.
Right.
So we really need to take management at face value. And it wasn't just Elon, it was also the CFO on the last call that was talking about the growth in energy. And they were probably sandbagging when they said, 75% plus growth.
Right.
And it appears certainly for the second quarter they were. It remains to be seen what the third and the fourth quarter are like.
Right.
But yeah, Tesla Energy is going to be an increasingly larger share of the company. All right, here's another way, Randy, of taking a look at things. And as you know, I am a big fan of humanoid robots.
Yes, we know this. Yes.
This is my attempt at starting to get people to think in terms of bots. So this previous chart where AJ got people to think of energy in terms of autos.
Yes.
I'm going to take it a step further and get you guys to think about all this in terms of bots.
Okay.
Okay. So here is my attempt at doing that. And I've tried to make this as simple as possible. Over the last 12 months, the vehicles that Tesla has sold is about 150 gigawatt hours of energy in those vehicles.
Okay.
And the batteries in the vehicles. The energy business is now at about 20 gigawatt hours of energy delivered.
Last 12 months. Okay. Yeah.
Last 12 months to the end of second quarter. So Q3, Q4 of last year, Q1 to Q of this year.
Right.
In total, that's 170 gigawatt hours of energy delivered.
Okay.
And by the way, the breakdown is 88% autos and 12% energy.
Right.
If you are an analyst and you ignore 12% of a company's business that's growing, 75, 100%,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you should be fired.
Right.
Okay. Let's think about now in terms of bot equivalents. If Tesla said, okay, we are not going to sell autos, we're not going to sell energy storage products, how many bots is 170 gigawatt hours of energy? Well, it's about 74 million.
74 million bots. Yeah.
Now, I'm not suggesting that Tesla can make 74 million bots today. I'm just showing the equivalent in terms of batteries.
But if we listen to Elon's words, he said in the future, and he didn't put a year on it, but he's usually talking 2030. He said he would be making 100 million bots per year. So there you go.
74 million is nothing. Right. Now, I'm not suggesting that batteries are the constraint.
Right.
They're not battery constrained anymore. So Tesla could actually make millions of autos, a lot of energy storage, and bots at the same time.
Right.
Okay. But I'm just trying to show the equivalency of these three items.
Right.
All right. Let's take it a step further.
Okay.
All right. Let's look at the economics of this. All right. One car, let's say on average, has about 85 kilowatt hour battery pack.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. More or less depending on the vehicle, but on average, Tesla's fleet, let's call it 85.
Mm-hmm.
And on average, let's say Tesla makes $5,000 per vehicle in net profit.
Mhm.
Okay. In the past, it's been higher than that, but right now we're about this level. If a person buys a car once every 5 years, then Tesla is making $5,000 of profit and selling the vehicle over a 5-year period.
Right.
That's the first growth. Now, a bot, which only has a 2.3 kilowatt hour battery pack, I think conservatively, you could make $10,000 a year for each bot.
Right.
And as you know, I've shown numbers where it's going to be, could be higher than that, particularly in the near term.
We have agreed on the numbers almost to the penny.
Yep. Now, these numbers are maybe looking at a little bit in the future and saying, okay, they make $10,000 a year per bot. Over 5 years, if they offer the robot as a service, they could make $50,000 over that 5-year period.
Right.
Okay. So it's a 10-to-1 advantage per bot
Yes.
to a car. But remember, the batteries that go in a car, you can make 37 bots with that.
Right.
Right? So it's actually 37 times 50,000. It's 1.85 million.
Right.
So now the advantage is 1.85 million to 5,000. Or I believe that's 370 to 1.
Okay.
Right? It's 37 times 10.
Right.
So if anybody out there doesn't yet comprehend the opportunity that is humanoid bots at some point in the future, not this year, not next year, but coming, this is the simplest way that I can think of to show the opportunity. And when Elon talks about the writing a new book,
Yeah.
this is what he's partly talking about. Okay. So if you want to think of Tesla as an automaker, by all means, but you're going to miss what Elon has been telling us and what we've been looking at ourselves. Now, I don't know whether these numbers are accurate or not. Maybe the bots only, 37 bots would make $1 million over 5 years.
Right.
Okay, fine. I'm wrong. I missed by $850,000. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not going to be as complicated to build bots as it will be to build cars. You don't need a gigafactory to build a bot.
So I was thinking about it this way the other day, Cern, in terms of the timing. Maybe you'll agree or disagree, but last year we made a few thousand, or not even a few thousand, a few hundred Cybertrucks at the end of the year. Elon is saying that in 2025 we will make a few thousand, not many thousands, maybe 3, 4, 5,000 bots by the end of 2025.
Mm-hmm.
This year on Cybertruck, most people are thinking they'll make about 75,000 Cybertrucks. Maybe it'll be more, maybe it'll be less. Some people thought it might be 100,000. Nobody scoffed at those 100,000 people. Some people are saying, well, no, it'll really only be 50,000. But in that range, we could say, let's call it 75,000. So to think in terms of making 75,000 bots in 2026 would be kind of an easy number to get to compared to Cybertrucks. In fact, I'm going to say that it would be a walk in the park to do double that number compared to Cybertrucks, maybe even way more than that. So we should be looking at hundreds of thousands of bots by 2026 if the beginning production in 2025 does well.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
You're thinking about it in the right way. And Elon has said that they're going to scale this aggressively.
Rapidly. Yes.
If you recall, Smokeaway had a post where it was 10xing the production every year for a while.
Yeah.
And Elon said that was close.
Right.
Yeah.
So we could be going from 100,000 or 200,000 in 26 to 1 million or 2 million in 27.
Yeah.
10 million, et cetera. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, the bot equivalence of what they're making right now is 74 million a year.
Yes.
Right. So even if it takes them a few years to get to that level, fine.
Yeah.
But they will get there and then go beyond that.
Indeed.
Yeah. So I hope that all that's helpful for folks that maybe don't quite comprehend bots. And I recognize that bot development has a long way to go. The bots that we see today are a little bit clumsy, a little bit slow, but you know what? This technology is going to improve rapidly.
Oh, yes.
It already has, and we're just going to continue to see it.
So,
Elon talks about the bot being able to play piano and thread a needle, right? And you look at the bot today, and it doesn't seem like it's anywhere near capable of anything like that.
right.
But that's what's coming.
Yes. So CERN, I know that you do not play the numbers game, like I don't play the numbers game for the quarterly shipments and deliveries, but I continue to play the stock market the stock market game. Not every day and not all the time, but right now there is I don't know if I was the first to say it, but there's a whole lot of people that's saying that we get to 300 by 8.8. Are you in that group?
It wouldn't surprise me. And again, I don't play the short-term game either. I'm a financial advisor by profession, so nothing I say here is financial advice, and I
Right.
never make any stock projections. I can't, right? But that said, you know, as I've mentioned here, the long-term potential of this company is like no other.
Yeah.
So
In history.
in history, right?
Yeah.
Now,
So,
speaking of 8 we can play this game.
oh boy, here it comes. I saw this and I thought this is really fun.
Yeah, and I'm curious as to what line, Randy, you think is most likely to win bingo. If you recall in bingo, you need to get 5 in a row,
Right.
right? Which line, vertical, horizontal, or diagonal, do you think could win? And by the way, if you recall in bingo, the middle square is a free one.
Right.
And I put this in here as good as free. Elon mentioned something about bots being worth X trillion, or it's not bots, sorry, robotaxi being worth
Yes,
X
which is a
trillion.
bot after all.
Yes. But I'm curious as to which one of these lines you think has the highest probability of winning the game of bingo.
Oh, yeah, yeah. This would take a minute though. You'd have to think about it. I be honest with you, I never got back to where I could start looking at the card. I do not think it will be a two-seater. I think I'm not sure there will be any new solution for charging. I think CyberCab is already the name. Solution for
Or is
cleaning.
it auto?
Huh? Yeah.
Some people think it'll be
Oh,
called
it's
auto.
auto. Yes, is another one, right? Compact car, not the full compact. It'll be the 2.5. Might or might not be unveiled. That might be for later. FSD licensing announcement, unlikely. Human operated ride haul. Oh, so you're saying a supervised ride hailing system?
This is what Tasha Keeney and ARK Invest have been calling for years.
I think this is a high likelihood. Live robotaxi demo, absolutely. So that one, there's one that's an absolute. Rideshare partner announced, no.
This means partnering with an Uber or Lyft or
I have been convinced by others. Now, in China, yes, but not in the US.
okay.
So,
Either one would get that square.
so Baidu is already a deal. I mean, that's going to happen. So just count that done. FSD better than a human. Yes. Announced network take rate. What does that mean?
If we are able to put our vehicles in the fleet, how much does Tesla take of the revenue versus how much do we get?
Okay. Yeah, maybe a high likelihood on that one. Announced Chinese rollout cities, absolutely. Well, even before then, I think. US rollout cities, I hope so. I don't know, but I hope so. Individual owner revenue share, I hope so. I think so. FSD name change, interesting. FSD name change. Hadn't thought about that one.
Yeah, they may call FSD something else.
Okay. Announce Grok in the car. Oh, please. That's my number one hope. That's number one. I want Grok in the car and in the bot. Both. Robotaxi software demo. Oh, absolutely. You can count that one done. Fleet partners announced. Yeah, I don't know. That's a question mark.
That would be partnering with a Hertz or someone like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, maybe more likely Hertz, I think, than the existing ride-hail guys.
Or you think
Another-
of a company in Europe by the name of Mr. Green. They have almost
Yes.
5,000 Teslas.
Right. Now, Uber, on the other hand, might just become like you and me. Okay,
Yeah.
they could say, okay, our guys will just, they'll get their FSD and they'll use it, and maybe there'll be some special Uber capabilities or discounts or something. I don't know, but I don't think it'll be Tesla. At this point, I've been convinced by others that Tesla is not trying to put together a deal with Uber, but I could be wrong, and they could be wrong. Announce new FSD pricing. Wow, seems likely, doesn't it? I hadn't thought of that. Robovan unveiled? No, absolutely not. But you've got maybe something on that. I'm not sure. Solution for difficult situations. Well, don't we think the solution is going to be the grock being able to, I mean, it'll be alive. It'll be not even grock. It'll be a live human on your app or in the entertainment system, kind of like Cadillac's deal that they've had all these years. I think that's got to be.
Or it could be, a car that can go forwards and backwards the same. Like you think about Zooks or whatever, where it's the front and the back's the same.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's possible.
You don't need to turn around and walk the street. You just you just drive out.
Well, that'll be only on the cyber cabs, however. Announce user pricing. Okay, maybe. Yes, maybe. Start date announced. Oh my, we all hope so, or at least an estimated. And maybe it's the next day. And 4-seater vehicle unveiled. Is that a 4-seater cyber cab?
Yes. Or plus, I guess, seater.
Or plus seater. Well, okay, but a regular size vehicle. I believe that's what the first cyber cab will be. I believe it'll be laid out much differently than a regular car, and have all kinds of fun things, like even a vending machine of some kind for water or Cokes or coffee. All those things. I did a whole story on that. There's something missing here. What is the thing that's missing here? What did you leave out that it was there in my mind a second ago? I can't think of it. Okay. Anyway.
there seems to be an interesting division among the Tesla community. Some people think it's going to be a 4+ seater, and other people think it's definitely going to be a 2-seater.
Right. I agree with you.
80-some percent, 90% of the rides are done with 2 people in the vehicle or less.
Right.
So, that's kind of interesting that people feel very strongly about that.
Right.
The other thing, I guess, is the founder of Uber, Travis, whether he would be involved in some way.
Yes. With Elon following him on X, and yeah, it's possible. All right. Well, yeah, it's too hard for me to figure out which line I would take here, but you have all my answers at this point. Did I get any of those right?
Well, I don't know. That remains to be seen. We'll find out on 8/8. Yeah, I'm not privy to any inside information on this as much as I'd like to be.
Yeah. It's gonna be exciting.
Yeah. What would be the number one item on here that you would hope for? Is that grock in the car?
Yes, the number one grock in the car and on the bot is definitely my number one over the entire product line. Only because I think it will have an impact on believability for Optimus, and it will have an impact on car sales. Just grock in the car will increase car sales. I mean, we already know that kids love Teslas. Can you imagine how much the kids are going to love Teslas if they can talk, if they can have a conversation? Holy mackerel. That'll just change the whole complexion.
Yeah, that would be cool. What is the one on here that you think is the least likely? Not in a million years, kind of likely.
Not in a million years. I think that would be the million years.
Yeah, that's maybe extreme, but that's not the one that's least likely on 8/8 to be announced from no one.
Yeah. I really think it will be a long time before there is a two-seater.
What about the compact car? To me, that seems like it should have its own event.
Well, the compact car, so that's two stages now. So we have the 3.5, I'm sorry, the 2.5, which will be not probably announced now, probably going to be announced closer to the end of the year, beginning of next year. And for production, the end of this year, beginning of next year. But I don't think that'll be announced at this or shown or picture shown. That's going to be, as many people have said, really at the immediate time of shipment. In other words, a week before shipment or something on that order. Yes, there will be sightings. Yes, there will be pictures, but the actual announcement will be very close to production. But then the actual 3.0, the full on unboxed new product, that might, if the 2.5 is super successful, that might be a 2026er before we really see that. On the other side of the coin, we'll also have the Juniper, which will also probably be announced end of the year, beginning of next year. And the Juniper will be, in some ways, maybe as important as some of the rest of this, because the Model Y, there's plenty of capacity, and if we get the Juniper, I think they'll use up the capacity faster than you can think about it. Yeah,
Right. Yeah,
I'm shocked they haven't announced it yet. I'm just blown away that Elon has waited a year. That's my number one of all time. I can't understand it, don't get it, why the Juniper wasn't done, by now.
yeah. Yeah, well, they've been busy working on a few other things.
They have, but it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So I do have, an unofficial announcement to make. Here's the Robovan, Tesla van.
Oh, man.
It's a blend of the semi
Yeah.
and a van.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah.
This is
Yeah,
not mine, by the way. This is from Dominique Brinkman on X.
Ah,
Handles at the bottom and light gray down here. So, oops, I'm sorry, I just blocked it. It'll disappear in a second. He put together this on X, and I gotta say, I quite like the look of this. I don't know whether the specs are right, but he's taken a nice shot at this. If Tesla likes this, they should just go ahead and hire the guy, and he's already got this figured out for them.
there you go.
Here's the interior.
Uh-huh.
Nothing too fancy there. I think there could be some other things done, but that looks pretty nice.
Yeah.
And then I like the big screen there at the top.
Yeah, yeah.
Here is some other integrated Starlink.
Okay, of course.
Extended range, I think it was 420 miles. Seems like a good number.
Yeah, yeah.
And then adventure awaits, Randy.
That's
I
right.
could see you driving one of these things around the country.
That's great. And it's all just pay for by the mile or by the day or something. Yeah. It's a robo van. Yes.
Right. Or presumably you could buy it and make it your own.
Right, right, right.
We started with a Cybertruck, and let's finish with a few.
Okay.
This is a fancy red one. This is apparently a very famous rapper. His name is Little Baby. Can't say I know who he is.
No, me neither.
But it's interesting that he's got this parked at an Exxon station. I'm not sure what he's doing here. Maybe he's trying to find the gas tank. Did anybody tell him this is electric?
Like he needs Kamala in the picture, trying to put the gas in the car. Yeah.
Yeah. This was kind of fun. It's kind of a creamsicle design.
I love creamsicles.
That's pretty cool. The wheels are pretty fancy on this one.
Yeah.
Here is in Panama. This is the official vehicle for the mayor of Panama.
Ah, I see.
Wow. Not too fancy, but cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And I am on record saying that every single police department and government vehicle in the world should be a Cybertruck.
Right. Absolutely. I
It
mean,
just seemed
it's just nuts.
logical.
Yeah.
Yep. And last but not least, the lava edition. I thought this was pretty cool.
You haven't shown, what's her name, Kelly's yet, have you? Isn't that gal on X? Isn't her name Kelly? She has the one that is the it's kind of a gold, rose gold.
Hmm.
Have you seen that one?
I don't know if I have. I'll
You
have
have
to get
to,
my research department to dig it up.
yeah, you have to get that one for next time because that's a special. And she's just put on some new accoutrement on the vehicle as well to spice it up even more. So we'll have to make sure that you have that one for next time.
This one's pretty hot. I gotta imagine my 8-year-old son would be pretty excited to see
Yeah,
this
no
pull up in
kidding.
the driveway. Yeah.
Speaking of your 8-year-old son, have we had any dinosaur ones yet?
No,
No, we haven't seen anything with any kind of dinosaur stuff on them yet, huh?
not yet. I'm sure it's just a matter of time.
It's only a matter of time. All right. Well, that certainly is a wild and crazy show. You've outdone yourself this time, CERN.
You know, Randy, I try to be better and better every week.
That's right. That's right. And you've also put down the gauntlet, for the Rocket Man. He hasn't had much to play with recently. We need some breakthroughs, in the rocketry department so that Scott has more toys. I mean, it's sad.
Yeah, Scott needs to work on his charting abilities first, perhaps. Now, I'm sure Scott will have plenty of bot developments to talk about and SpaceX developments will be coming.
Absolutely. We're looking for that Starship, that next launch.
Yeah.
Yes, hoping that I'm always forgetting the Zega, no, Megazilla
Mechazilla.
will catch the rocket as as the booster, at least as it's returning. That would be an amazing sight.
The world's biggest chopsticks. And I think, as Elon likes to say, excitement is guaranteed.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
So even if it doesn't work, it'll be
Even if it knocks over the tower, it's
something.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, CERN, as always, thank you for bringing us entertainment as well as knowledge. That's it's a great combination. And we will look forward to having you come back and do it again next week.
Sounds great, Randy. Enjoy the rest of the 4th.
And to all of you out there, it has been great talking to you.